My name is Martin and I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about practice and sprint qualifying on Friday in Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're going well. Let's get into it. Now, just following on from the live stream yesterday and a couple of things that I learnt, just listening to the drivers, their mentality in the press conference this morning. I want to start with Lewis Hamilton because I heard some really interesting and positive things from him in the Thursday press conference. So he said that he's been sending papers to the team, like these must be some sort of recommendation papers on how they can improve or better ways of working. So I'll give you a few examples. He's been sending papers to the team with regards to organizational structure, and he's been putting these papers together, presumably in the break. We spoke about doing some work in the break yesterday in the live stream, and I said how important it is because this is an opportunity to get ahead. So it's good to see Lewis working in these areas during the break, not just doing physical training and taking a holiday, for example. So number one, sending papers to the team with regards to organizational structure. I'm not sure what that is exactly, just moving people around in the right places, lines of reporting, potentially, maybe something that worked at Mercedes he wants to bring across to Ferrari. The second one is the timing of the upgrades as well, like the frequency and cadence for which Ferrari bring their upgrades. Lewis has been saying, like, when are we getting upgrades? I need more upgrades, and seeing other teams bolting on new parts and new upgrades on their car. He's got a paper, he's put forth a paper that says we need some more upgrades or more frequent upgrades. The third paper he mentioned was car handling. Obviously, he's got feedback on the direction he wants to take the development of the car. So he's been submitting papers with regards to car handling as well. He also mentioned that he's been organizing meetings with the C-suite exec level people. And just, I guess that's again, organizational structure, frequency of upgrades and car handling. So hats off to Lewis. That's the sort of champion mentality and work ethic required to turn this around. And I think he's up for it in a way. He's up for the fight. He's up for the challenge. He's not just like, you guys sort it out and let me know when the car is good. He's actually getting hands-on and providing recommendations. I also heard Alex Albon in the F1 podcast recently saying now that he has a driver coach. Hooray. So I've been saying for the longest time, the biggest opportunity in F1 right now is to work with a driver coach, a good one. And he also mentioned that he's finding it really helpful as well. So you can check that out on the F1 podcast. Go to around 15 minutes and you'll hear Alex start to talk about driver coaches. He mentioned that they had them in Ferrari. Obviously, Jock Clear is there. And that when Carlos came over, Williams were really open-minded about Carlos and bringing knowledge. And if they had driver coaches, then we should get driver coaches. And like I said, I've been saying for a while that it is a big opportunity. And I always speak about the technical, tactical, mental, and physical sides of the sport. And I say the physical, and if you listen to Fernando Alonso in the Thursday press conference, he's like, it's not a thing anymore. Yes, it is a thing, but it's not what it used to be, like Schumacher, Senna era. It's more on the technical and tactical side. That's where the lap time is. And of course, you need a good mindset to go with it. But I'm glad Alex is finding it helpful. And my hope through this channel is to raise awareness and show people the value of it. And again, just shine the light that is the biggest opportunity moving forward. As the cars converge and testing time gets limited, then you're going to need a driver coach. That should be your number one most important person. I spoke about this yesterday as well in the live stream, that all these drivers now have their own personal photographers, but only some of them have their own driver coaches. So it's clear that there's distraction and lack of prioritization as well. So good job, Alex, and I'm glad it's working out for him. Now, listen, I think the Ferrari suspension updates that they've brought this weekend, again, if you missed the live stream, we spoke about the change. I'll show you guys now. But Ferrari have got a new revised suspension for this weekend that they've been testing in Mugello. I feel like this was driven by Lewis Hamilton. He combines a lot on the entry, combines the brake and combines the steering a lot on entry and really turns in early and tries to carry that speed to the apex. And that's been Lewis Hamilton's strength. But if he doesn't have rear instability, he can be very easily undone, and he hasn't shown adaptability to be able to change and adapt that style and find more time on the exits if the car's got entry instability issues. I feel like this rear suspension change has been driven by Lewis. Like, we need more rear grip, do something to make it work. So I'll show you guys a few pictures now of what this suspension change looks like. So this is the old suspension layout. And then if I just go next shot, new. So it's literally just this upper arm that's moved across. Now, look, I'm not vehicle dynamics orientated. I wouldn't be able to tell you what this does. Presumably it's going to give some more grip to the rear of the car. Let's wait and see. Now, look, we got a few shots of Lewis on board in the practice session this morning, and it didn't look great. I have to be honest. Like, it looked like the rear instability issues were there, and we heard him on the radio complaining a few times as well. So it's kind of like probably more frustration for Lewis. Like he's been probably pushing for this change for ages. Then he gets the change, and the rear instability issues continue. Let me bring it up on the screen for you guys now, and we'll have a look at it together. So this is coming into Lake Coombe. It's this exact moment right at the apex on the entry where Lewis has been struggling as he turns in and combines. So this is Lake Coombe's turn 5, I want to say. And then we've got the entry to 14 Stabilo. Same thing, actually. Brake, turn, combine, and then the rear lets go. I'm not sure if he's still squeezing the brakes on at that point, but that was the problem that Lewis was having. So then, of course, he comes on the radio and says, I have a lot of rear locking and instability, to which Ricky's race engineer says, copy. So yeah, again, like I say, that would be frustrating for Lewis, given that he's putting in the work and he's not yet seeing the results. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the tyre allocation for the sprint weekend and what my whole philosophy is on it and what tyres you get given and so on. So I'll bring it up on the screen for you guys now so you can see what tyres you actually get given. And then we can start to discuss how you actually want to use them. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. I'll just read out the top tip for you guys there. There's on a Formula One sprint weekend. The teams have a reduced allocation of 12 sets of slick tyres compared to the usual 13. This includes 6 sets of softs, 4 sets of mediums, 2 sets of hards. Additionally, drivers have access to 4 inters and 3 sets of wets. So the key part there is 6 softs, 4 mediums, and 2 hards. Now, I should also add that during the sprint qualifying, SQ1, SQ2, you need to use that on the medium compound tyre. So that's the biggest constraint for some of the midfield to back teams. And then if you get to SQ3, it has to be on the soft compound tyre. So that's the allocation, and that's what needs to be used later on in sprint qualifying. Now, look, if you're a top team like McLaren, for example, I don't think you necessarily need to practice on the medium tyre, which is my philosophy, because you are going to get through SQ1 and SQ2 pretty comfortably on the medium, even if you don't know anything about it and haven't researched it and don't know how it works and its core temperature. And do you know what I mean? If it goes off at the end of the lap, you don't need to know that because your car is so good. What you need to do is what happens when we get into SQ3 competing for sprint pole, you need to understand your soft compound tire. So McLaren did that really well. Thumbs up. They cleaned up the track initially on one of the hard compound tires, and then they switched over to the soft towards the end of the first practice session. Again, big thumbs up. Where I think a lot of the teams went wrong is starting on the hard, like copying McLaren, starting on the hard and then going on to the soft. But these are midfield or back of grid teams where I think you're going to be assessed in qualifying on the medium compound tire. That's your assessment later this afternoon. So why would you be practicing on the hard or the soft when you're not even going to get into SQ3? So that was really strange for me. And look, I kind of understand that from a strategic point of view. They're probably thinking, well, we've got to run one set in, you've got 4 sets, right? So they're probably thinking, we've got to run one set in sprint quali 1. We've got to run another set in SQ2. We'll probably run a set for the sprint race. That only leaves us 1 set for the actual main race. That's correct, but you're missing 2 key factors. Number 1, you might not get to SQ2 because you don't understand the medium compound tire properly. You're out in SQ1. There you go. You've saved a set. Secondly, the weather this weekend, if you've been doing your research, is for rain on Sunday. You might not even need that medium compound tire at all come Sunday. Let me show you the latest weather forecast that we spoke about in the live stream. It looks something like this. Saturday, tomorrow for the sprint race, dry. Okay, you use your medium, that's fine. But then Sunday, there's 8.7 millimeters of rain coming. So it looks unlikely that you're going to be using the medium. So given everything I've said about if you don't understand the medium, you're probably not going to use the second set in SQ2 because you'll be out. And we've got rain on the way. Why are the likes of some of the Alpines and Stake guys not practicing the medium tire? That's a mistake. And I think come qualifying, you're going to hear this sort of tone after sprint qualifying, like, yeah, we didn't quite understand the tires, didn't get the tires into the window. It was really cold and hard to switch on the tires. Trust me, you're going to hear that sort of talk. and I'm prepared to bet a lot of money that that's what's going to happen. Now, just before I show you guys the results of the first practice session, Oscar Piastri put in a smashing lap, and that McLaren looks like a machine in the mid sector, as you'd expect, right? The McLaren's got a lot of grip, a lot of downforce, and for no real top speed loss. I think Max pulled a tenth or two back in the final sector, obviously with that skinny rear wing on the Red Bull, but McLaren's a machine in the mid sector, particularly in the hands of Oscar Piastri. Now, I spoke about Lando yesterday in the live stream as well. And I said, look, he was out playing golf and posting golf photos on social media. Even Franco was mucking around during the week. And you compare that to the work that Lewis is doing, and I just see a difference. And I just see an opportunity for Lando in this championship year to get his head down. There's an opportunity cost to everything you do. Every time you're playing golf, someone's working. Every time you're in the gym, someone's actually studying. Every time you're doing other things, that's an opportunity to be studying. If you spend 2 hours for lunch instead of 20 minutes for lunch, that's an opportunity that you could be studying. There's an opportunity cost to everything. And I think Lando, I'm 100% sure that there's more Lando can be doing to prepare for this one. Now, look, he actually blew his lap there in FP1. And so I'll be keen to bring up the results and have a look at the sectors and see. But it looks like from the outset, Oscar's hit the ground running and he looks a lot stronger from the outset this weekend in Spa. Now, look, a lot of people commented on that live stream yesterday and said, you're judging it off one picture. You don't know what he's been doing. It's true. I can't see the full picture of what he's been doing. But if that's an insight, then I'm not happy with it. Secondly, I've done all of the work to see the opportunities that Lando's lost since fighting for championships in 2024 and 2025. It's been starts, it's been attack, it's been defense, it's been restarts, it's been racecraft, it's been wet weather, it's been strategy, it's been yellow flags, it's been aborted starts, it's been in the wet. Like there's a long list, right? And to that extent that we're presented with this long list of mistakes, you need your head down. I'm reminded of my childhood hero, Roger Federer. And as I was scrolling TikTok, I found like an audio clip that I thought I'd share with you guys, because could you imagine a tennis player preparing for Wimbledon by playing golf? Not in a million years. They would be out there working on every micro detail, making sure everything is spot on for their assessment, which is in tennis and not golf. Let me share with you this Roger Federer audio clip now.
I didn't get where I got on pure talent alone. I got there by trying to outwork my opponents. I believed in myself, but belief in yourself has to be earned. The truth is, whatever game you play in life, sometimes you're going to lose. A point, a match, a season, a job. It's a roller coaster with many ups and downs. And it's natural when you're down to doubt yourself and to feel sorry for yourself. But negative energy is wasted energy. You want to become a master at overcoming hard moments. That is, to me, the sign of a champion. The best in the world are not the best because they win every point. It's because they know they'll lose again and again and have learned how to deal with it. You accept it, you move on, be relentless, adapt and grow, work harder, work smarter. Remember, work smarter.
I hope the message was clear there. It was work harder. Like in the opening line, I didn't get to where I got because I was more talented. It's because I was prepared to work harder or something like that. It's just, yeah, I mean, maybe need to listen to that back a few times, but that is gospel for Lando. That's Bible for Lando. He needs to just do that. Anyway, let's bring up the results and have a look at them together now. So these are your FP1 results, and I'm particularly interested in Lando's sectors to see, are there any signs of life, any green shoots off the back of that mistake at Stabilo turn 14. Let's have a look. Piastri's first sector was a 30.2 and Lando's was a 30.3. He's a 10th down at La Source, one corner. The mid sector, 2/10, Oscar to the good. So he's now 3/10 down. And then, you know, the mistake in the final sector. Obviously, these are the best sectors that I've got here, by the way. So if Lando had some signs of life, we'd be seeing it here. Another 10th in the final chicane as well. So Oscar's got about 4/10 on him at the moment, which is really interesting in the first session. There's Max Verstappen with his top speed. I said that they've brought that rear wing here. Max is trying to do something similar to what they did in Silverstone, just take the downforce off and try to compete for pole. I get it. Why not? But yeah, again, here you see the allocation of tires as well. It's very strange. I thought Max had the best approach, starting on the medium and then switching across to the soft. those are the tires that you're going to need to understand later today, like we said. Alrighty, shall we talk a little bit of SQ1 and look some big names out? Exactly some of the stuff I was saying. I feel like I've been repeating myself so many times. But that's what it comes down to. Like there was some big names out because I just feel like they just weren't prepared properly with the mediums. Now, fast forward to SQ3, you got both HAAS cars who only spent time on the medium compound tire in the first practice session. Both of them made it in. So that's the sort of, that's the difference, guys. There was some track evolution in SQ2 as well, spending time on the medium and understanding how it performs on the second run. We're going to get onto all that a little bit later in the sprint qualifying analysis. But look, SQ1, Hamilton's entry instabilities struggles continue and under braking struggles continue. This time into Stabilo, it was a little bit different to what we saw in practice. In practice, he actually made it to the apex, and at the full load, like peak load in the middle of the corner, bang, the rear just lets go and stepped out at that point. Here's a little bit different. He actually puts the left rear on the curb on the entry to Stabilo, and that's where he's lost grip on the left rear. Let me show you that. Let me show you that for you guys now. So this is the entry to Stabilo there. I feel like it's that entry point where Hamilton's not typical of this. If you guys saw the live stream, he, not using all of the available track width is one of Hamilton's specialties. That is the tight line into such a corner. So interesting to see him make that crucial mistake in his first run in SQ1. Let me just go back for a second. I'll show you where the error was. Bang, if I just pause it there, what's happening is with his trajectory just coming across to the left-hand side of the track, he's gotten on the left rear is either on this white painted line or on the curb. And, combined with Lewis's style, it's broken before he's even got into the corner. So that's the problem there on Lewis's first run. Now, then the second run, we had that massive rear locking under braking. Now, people like Davidson quickly called it out, and Brundle as well were like, this looks like a car issue. I'm not convinced, given what we know about Lewis Hamilton, the rear instability, he's trying to solve for that. I'm not convinced that it's a car issue. Why can't it just be he locked the brakes, lock the rear brakes? That's what happens when you lock the rear brakes. If you smack them super hard and you pluck the downshift super quick, that can happen. It doesn't look unusual to me. So we'll wait and see what he has to say. But yeah, just mistakes really. Like I don't put this one particularly down to him not spending time on the medium, although that would have helped. Now he's saved mediums for nothing. I don't put it down to that. These were just mistakes, trying too hard, basics, right? Just, getting the basics right. So a shame that he was out. Now, Kimi Antonelli also had an issue with the Stabilo corner, completely different issue on the exit of the corner when he's got the steering, he wants to go, bang, nails the throttle, and then it goes round. That one looked a little bit suspicious to me in the sense that most of the cars are jumping on the throttle out of there and getting out of there, potentially a gust of wind or potentially just too much throttle input from Kimi as well. Some of the things you can do to dull that down is play with your throttle shape. So if Kimi likes to introduce the throttle super hard on the exit like that before the steering wheel is straight, then give him a gentler throttle shape. The throttle shape is the translation between your pedal input and how much power actually gets applied. So it doesn't have to be linear like 1 for 1, like 1% of throttle on the pedal is 1% of throttle on the engine. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be like 1% of throttle on the pedal is only 0.5% on the engine, for example. So you can definitely map that in. I map that in on the sim myself. So that's something that he could do if he continues to have that problem, or it could just be one of those mistakes under pressure. Now, just as we look at the SQ1 results, notwithstanding Hamilton and Antonelli made a mistake, it's the likes of Colapinto, Hulkenberg, and Albon who I don't believe spent much time on the medium compound tire, and then they're being assessed on it here in SQ1. That's where I think there's an opportunity. There would have been an opportunity for them to get more familiar with it, maybe iron out some of those mistakes, and maybe start to compete for SQ2. So now they're taking mediums home, having not made it into SQ2 for what? To start at the back of the grid. So that's my insight for you guys there. Piastri still strong. Verstappen still with mega top speed. No real news here. The SQ2 results are on the screen in front of you. The biggest call out for me and why we see such a mixed up grid here, particularly in the top 10 who made it into the top 10, like good laps from Ocon, Bortoleto, Gasly, Behrman, Sainz, Hadjar, and Piastri nearly in trouble at the end there, given that he got his lap deleted. This all happened because on the second run, they started to find pace out of nowhere very unexpectedly. Now, why was it unexpectedly? Because they didn't practice this in practice. This is exactly the sort of thing that you would be looking for. How does the medium compound tire perform in warm up, during the lap? If we do a cool down and a second, hot lap with the medium, is it better, or what is the drop off? That's the sort of insight that you would ordinarily get from your practice and your research, which clearly wasn't done other than the likes of Ocon and Behrman, who spent the most time on that medium compound tire in the practice session. But also Verstappen spent time on the medium. Hajar as well put the mediums on at one point. So these guys are making it through. Some of them spent some time on the medium compound tire, which is good to see that it's paying benefit to them. Now, probably Ocon and Behrman weren't surprised to see the that extra performance on the second hot lap. Maybe they were like, yeah, that's what that's what we found in practice. Who knows? I'm not sure to what extent they tested it, but it's as simple as that, guys. Now, look, does this compromise their weekend? We'll wait and see. Maybe it rains on Sunday and they don't need that medium at all. Probably they'll whack it on for the sprint race tomorrow to do 17 laps. And just go from there. You know what I mean? Take the points in the sprint, and the race is the race. Anything can happen. So out in SQ2, we had Lawson, Tsunoda, Russell, Alonso, and Stroll. I think with Russell, the rear of that Mercedes just looked really disconnected. He was saying that because Kimi Antonelli went off in Stabilo back in SQ1, I think George had to go off as well potentially, or it got some damage in that process, and the car never felt the same. I think it was a good job by Lawson to be within a tenth of Hadjar, who's very highly rated, is a good effort. So you should be proud of that. And Tsunoda, I think, is missing a few parts, if I'm not mistaken, from Max. So I think those guys did not a bad job. I think Alonso and Stroll would be where the opportunities were. There's probably more lap time in that Aston Martin than P14, P15. Now, as we start to talk about SQ3, I don't think it's a surprise to see Oscar on pole by a big margin compared to Lando. 6/10 is not what I would have expected. I think we counted 4 in the first practice. That's a big gap. Now, Lando's outlap was strangely quick for him being the lead car, the lead McLaren, the lead whatever, just going around. There was no rush for him to do a quick outlap. So I'm not sure why he felt the need to do the quick outlap. And I'm not sure if that had an impact or didn't have an impact on his hot lap. But it was a very quick outlap from Lando. I'm not sure it was the best tire preparation. And then one other thing I wanted to just talk to you guys about was Lando's entry into turn 1, which we got an onboard shot of. And the context is that on the entries, Lando's been struggling with the McLaren because his hands are too quick and the McLaren's front end is too powerful. And then it can just get away from him because the combination of the front end grip and his hands moving too quickly generally steps out the rear. And we saw this in Bahrain. If you've been following the channel for a while, you would have seen all the clips I put out: Bahrain, Spain, Saudi Arabia. There's heaps of rear instability entry with Lando, which all stems from the front of the car. I think we saw a glimpse of that in turn 1 on the onboard as well. I'm going to show it to you guys now. So it's this: as Lando turns into turn 1, and you'll need a good eye to be able to pick this up, you'll see him just hack away at the mid corner and open his hands there and go again. And it's that opening of hands and going again that is like when you're turning into the corner, you're making a prediction as to how much front grip you think there's going to be. So he turns, all good, turns, all good, turns, all good. And there's a point at which he's kind of here. I'll just put my hands up and then realizes like, oh, no, it's turning too much now. So he's got to open his steering wheel and then he goes again for a bigger armful of lock. That's my first insight, and we saw that in Bahrain. I saw that in Bahrain testing as well. And I still think that with this new suspension that's designed to give Lando a better feel in the front of the car, I don't think it's helping. But again, I don't think feel is necessarily the thing that Lando was lacking or not lacking. Lando's hands are too quick for the power of the front end of the MCL39. That's the end of the chapter and end of the story. So they need to slow his hands down a little bit or slow the steering rate down a little bit. That would be problem solved. I'm not sure why McLaren are playing around with the feel as in feedback that Lando gets through the steering wheel, because it's very hard to feel the front end of the car, I think. So Yeah, unless he's like super in tune, you're not you the reason you'll know that the front's too powerful is because the rear starts to come around, whilst the front just keeps on pulling. So yeah, like I say, we spotted that in Bahrain. I'll try to bring up the clip and show you guys now. Yep, this is the clip from Bahrain testing that I was showing you guys. So there's down here in the braking here, same thing, turn, 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 whoop, open the wheel and turn again. Now you need, again, a keen eye to see it, and I'll slow it down for you. It's, watch your steering wheel, open and go again. It's the exact same, we're here now, so many races down the track. What are we, race, I don't know, race 14 or something? And we're still, or maybe not 12, but we've still got these issues. But again, guys, I don't know what to say, but that's what I think the reason is. Lando's prediction with his hands for how much grip there's going to be in the front is always underestimating the power of the front end of the McLaren. I think we saw that at turn 1 as well. And I think combined with a quick outlap, that meant that pole position belongs to Oscar Piastri. Now, this is the whole thing about not doing the requisite preparation again, guys. Like, I come back to that point again, because it's like, let's just say, for example, that he was browsing on YouTube and started to come across people talking about different driving techniques. Yeah, let's say he found my video. Most of it, he might think this is rubbish, it doesn't apply to me. But there might be something, there might be one little thing in amongst hours of live streams and podcasts that he can listen to and different analysts and this and that. He might have to skim through maybe 20 hours. Let's say he's on the flight to Spa-Francorchamps, and it's a 10-hour flight or something. I'm just making this up. Yeah, maybe that 10 hours of podcasting or analysis from other people, maybe most of it's rubbish. But maybe there's one little thing in there that you think, oh, you know what? That might be different to what I've seen. And it's not the driver's fault, by the way, sometimes, because they're in this bubble and they can't actually see what we can see with all of the onboards and all the data and everything. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got the capacity because they've got sponsorship here, they're meeting this guy here, they've got fashion this, gym this, and then they're meeting here, debrief this, and then strategy and this. Yeah, there's way too much going on. So I don't like, I sympathize with them in a way, because their lives must be so complex to manage. But also I don't, because you also create that environment for yourself if you don't set appropriate boundaries. Like, no, I'm not coming to this because this is not important. I just need time to digest, etc. as well. So look, I don't know if it's down to that, but yeah, it's better to be over prepared than under prepared anyway. The SQ3 results on the screen in front of you, a smashing by Piastri. Hey, like a mega job. And Ocon with the fastest first sector as well. So with that turn 1 from Lando, let's have a look. So Oscar is 29.96 and Lando's 30.07. It's more than a tenth. And that makes sense for me, because that turn 1 from Lando did look fairly scrappy. And it's one corner, it's one hairpin, bang, tenth of a second, just gone, just like that. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. But Oscar, a machine in the mid sector, and still strong in the final sector as well. So nailing the chicane. But yeah, look, this is the problem now for Lando tomorrow. He's got Max in front of him with mega top speed. That's going to be a tricky car to pass, because top speed is great in racecraft in terms of attack and defense as well. Yeah, so that will be interesting to see. Then you've got Leclerc, who's got 3 kilometers on Lando as well, so potentially can attack lap 1 down the Kemmel Straight, and you look at this 346 from Ocon as well. So yeah, for Lando to keep P3, I think off the start will be a good effort for him, and I think that's damage limitation. That's what he needs to do, is just take the P3, take the learnings, and carry it on into the main race, and see if he can compete for pole in the main race. He really needs a P3 here tomorrow in the sprint. That's all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. If you did, just drop me a question or comment in the comment section below. Any comment, thought, or question definitely helps push and promote the channel moving forward. And I'll see you guys after the sprint and the qualifying for the main race tomorrow. Cheers.